Welcome, Hudson Valley, to this week's edition of In Touch, the public affairs and issues program that runs across Townsquare Media, the Hudson Valley radio stations. This week's guest is Cathy Paraggio, founder of NoNetz Activewear. Cathy goes into the unconventional journey she took in starting NoNetz, which makes environmentally friendly and sustainable clothes for boys and men to feel comfortable in their own skin. Cathy also delves into her personal journey, from working in corporate America to finding who she feels she was always meant to be after a tragedy struck. We invite you to join us and listen to a previously recorded conversation between Cathy and myself here on In Touch. I'm proud to announce that In Touch has won the 2023 New York State Broadcasting Association Award for Best Public Affairs or Series, as part of the 57th Annual Excellence in Broadcasting Awards. This recognition would not be possible without the incredible team here at Townsquare, all of our phenomenal guests that we learn from and grow with every single week, and of course, you, the listener. Whether you've been listening for a while or you just found us, thank you for taking part in the conversation and staying in touch with what's going on in the Hudson Valley. We here at In Touch are all about, being in touch with what's going on in the Hudson Valley. What better way to stay in touch with what's going on than by downloading the Townsquare Media mobile app for this radio station? Not only can you listen to this station live at any time using the app, but you can also listen to In Touch on demand. Besides In Touch, you can read daily articles about news, events, entertainment, and more that's going on in your community. And when the weather gets bad, you can use the app to check on weather reports and see which schools and organizations might be closed. Your Townsquare Media app is also the best place for concert and event tickets. We're constantly giving away tickets to the hottest shows in the area. Again, you'll have access to all this if you download the Townsquare Media mobile app for this radio station. In Touch is nothing without the support from the hundreds of listeners we get on a weekly basis. Thank you so much for listening and taking part in the conversation. If you listen to In Touch through a podcast service such as Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please consider leaving a positive review. With more 5-star reviews on these platforms, the algorithms will work harder to promote our show and bring In Touch to new people. That and also sharing In Touch with your friends and family is so important. Just sharing our links and listening live each Sunday goes such a long way. Thank you for all you do to stay in touch with what's going on in the Hudson Valley. Hello, Hudson Valley. You're listening to another episode of In Touch, Townsquare Media, the Hudson Valley's public affairs and issues program. And we got a great episode for you guys today. Perfect for the summer weather ahead of us. I'm really excited to get into all of this. And there's a really great backstory behind everything that we're going to be talking about today. With us, we have Cathy Paraggio, founder of NoNetz. Cathy, how are you today?
Pretty good, thanks. Nice to meet you.
It's a pleasure to meet you. We've been emailing back and forth for a while, so I'm really happy to finally have you here in person and we can talk about this.
Yeah.
Yes. So NoNetz, it is an activewear line, correct?
It is.
And I feel like there's so many cool things that is going on with NoNetz, from the backstory behind it to all the different, initiatives that you guys partner up with. The first place I would really like to get into is, could you just give us an overview of what NoNetz is for anybody who has no idea?
Sure. I design clothing for men and boys that solves problems. So based on my observations of uncomfortable guys, you guys are always uncomfortable. You're always pulling out your shirt, your shorts, whatever. So I take those observations and I redesign common activewear. Polos that manage your sweat. You're always cool. Swim trunks, you don't get a rash in. Ever see guys do the crab walk on the beach?
Oh, it's so bad.
Trying to view and understand why people are so uncomfortable and haven't redesigned this. It just seemed like a natural opportunity.
That's really interesting. So what are some of those things that you do with your designs that are different than like the very common designs that make it that much more comfortable?
For example, on the swim trunks, you know how guys' swim trunks have the mesh net brief?
Yep.
It's horrible. Everybody hates it. They cut it out. Then it itches. If you keep it in, it causes a rash. You can't walk. I mean, when I interviewed people at water parks, beach, I had couples who were married 50 years, and the wife would turn to the husband, "Is this why you don't like the beach?" He's like, "I don't want to talk about it." Men don't like to talk about any kind of problems. They suck it up. They're very stoic, right? Women, problem solvers, confrontational. So in looking at all of these uncomfortable people, where they're in places they're supposed to be having a great time, vacation, golf, polos. So I replaced the mesh net brief with a super soft, supportive liner. It's fully lined. I use a minimal stitches against your skin. Every stitch is a potential irritation point. Everything's highly water resistant. And then I test with texture sensitive people before I release it. So if you're super texture aware and you really love these, everybody's comfortable.
That's really impressive. I really love that. I think one of the big things, especially, myself, I'm not a fan of most of the swim trunks that I have to wear all the time. So like I'll get it an extra size bigger or something typically just so I have some room. But then you have to worry about tying it and then that's a whole mess
and
itself.
Here's the thing. Just as a woman, right? We spend a fortune on swimwear.
Yeah.
And you're on the beach and then you see like the typical boxers under jeans. I don't know why. I'm just out to clean up guys a little bit too, right? So like these can double as shorts. You can go to a restaurant in these. They dry super quick. They move with you. And I'm all about comfort as well as sustainability. And we can get into that a little on the side if you want. But everything I design solves a problem. So for example, the polos have embedded minerals. Ever see guys on the golf course and then like pulling at the shirt and then like they're dripping underneath their... Everybody looks so uncomfortable. Right? So the fabric has embedded cooling minerals in it, and it's highly wicking. And so what it does is it actively manages your body temperature so you don't sweat. Especially guys like hyperhidrosis, excessive sweating, stuff like that. This handles that beautifully. I've had guys run in Arizona with this. Your head sweats, but you're so cool. It's constantly managing your body temperature. So I'm out to make everybody super comfortable in a creative way.
That's really impressive. So got me very curious right now. You have the minerals embedded into everything, but what particular materials do you use to make your products? Is it the stereotypical cotton and polyester, or how does that come to be?
Yeah, so I do a lot of research with mills. My background is computer science, believe it or not. I went to Marist. I'm not in the fashion world at all, so I am very technical. What I like to do is research mills who are doing this kind of challenging creative work. I found a mill that takes reclaimed fishing nets, makes fabric out of that, highly water resistant. They're in Italy. And I use that for kids' rash guards. And it's super soft. So rash guards, kids hate normally because it gives you a rash across your chest.
Typically, yes.
And it's the very antithesis of what you're trying to do. Then you got to slather it with sunblock, and that's kind of like chemical laden. So these rash guards, kids are saying they're soft as a pillow. It's adorable. I put a little zipper on the front. It's covered. It's rubber. It doesn't touch your skin at all. All seams are on the outside. But this fabric sheds water. It doesn't cling. You could wear it as a little beach jacket. But all of it is about researching technical things that are interesting for the environment, like helpful, right? So the shells of the swimwear is from reclaimed plastic.
Wow.
So, but again, like I'm always thinking like, can I do it better? Like my other designs that I have that I can't quite bring to market yet, because the minimum order quantities are getting crazy now. I would love to experiment with making like a leather jacket, except not out of leather out of mycelium, like mushroom. Oh, I would love that.
That would be interesting.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And it's like butter. It's super soft. But I think the overarching theme is we need to revisit what we think is normal. Like we make our fabric the same way we have for 150 years. Goes on a loom, ching-ka-ching-ka-ching, you make the fabric. Isn't there a better way to do this?
Well, it sounds like you found a pretty good way to do it then.
It's not me mills are picking at this, but I would really like to explore this like in an R&D kind of way. Like personally, I hate laundry. I would love to make fabric you didn't have to wash. Maybe we just airbrush it. Maybe you put bubbles through it. I don't know. But I would like washing your clothes, drying your clothes, all of that. It's so expensive for the environment, the soap, the microplastics, all of it. So that's where I like to head. I feel like is just the start. But I would like to head in a direction where I'm solving like super big problems, like disruptively.
I love that. Now, you're saying that this is just the start. Let's bring this back to the beginning then. I'm curious about how this all began. Well, we talked about this a little bit, and it's a really fascinating story, and it's not a very
Not
typical
common.
one. Yeah, no. And but I think it's fascinating nonetheless. And the story alone is very inspiring, not just for fashion, but pretty much anything. So I would really appreciate if you could get into the genesis of NoNetz, please.
Sure. So as I said, my background was in computer science. I spent my entire corporate career designing networks, installing them, supporting them, and then I got cancer. Mm-hmm. And then I had to step away from corporate, and once you're out of IT, you're out. So as I was home recovering, like all the surgeries and radiation, I had no voice for a long, long time. And it made me a keen observer. And I also figured out that I was artistic. And I taught myself stained glass and started doing residential designs. And, I had this other side of me I didn't even know existed. Then a group of neighborhood women got together. They were like, we'd like to start a company. We heard you had some experience. I was like, all right, it's a hobby. But again, I had no voice. And my son at that time was very small. So, time goes on. Chris, my son, tells me at 16 he wants to study music in college. I say, oh my God, that's a terrible idea. You're never going to get a job. But that was his superpower. So I thought, why do creative people fail? Maybe it's because they don't understand the business. In addition to having like a creative bone, we don't nurture both sides of that. So I bought the other women out. I brought Chris in as a peer and used NoNetz as a teaching tool. Like, this was a hobby. This wasn't supposed to do anything. This was just to show him how business works. And we went from me being a mentor and him being a student to him being an absolute peer. And then the company took off. And he got into NYU Clive Davis. Like, you're always like, reach for the stars, honey. You could do anything. Holy cow, and we got that tuition bill. We were just flabbergasted. NYU Clive Davis is the school, the business of recorded music. He kills it. NoNetz is paying for it. He graduates in May, debt-free. I mean, 2 thumbs up all the way around.
Terrific.
Yeah, and he just, so as a result of NoNetz, he was able to graduate debt-free, and he just came out with an album, and now he's on his way.
That's terrific. And we will link that album in the description of this podcast. I know I want to check that out later myself, along with everything with NoNetz.
So I'll give him a quick shout out. It's under Marceline, and the album is Tree Giver, streaming on all platforms.
Very cool. I know I'm very excited to check that all out. And that is really fascinating that you got into everything.
Combination of things, but the thinking, like of stained glass, the panels of glass, the panels of fabric, the design, all of my technical abilities with the digital advertising, the website, like all of that, like this was a perfect combination of my skills.
Yeah.
So it really lit me up in a direction that, hey, I'm still valuable. I'm still functional. I can still, and I'm taking care of people. So I'm saving vacations with this clothing. I'm giving guys feel really good about themselves when they're walking around. You could tell. Like when it gets super hot out and, you see all the guys like picking at, especially if you have like a little tiny belly and you're picking at it, right? These just hang. And you can tell everybody, like when I see guys on the beach and they're wearing a NoNetz, they're adorable. They look so nice, and they're so well put together. I just love dressing them up.
I love that. That's terrific. Again, you're listening to In Touch, Townsquare Media, the Hudson Valley's Public Affairs and Issues program. We are speaking with Cathy Paraggio, founder of NoNetz. What an insane story behind NoNetz, what got everything together. I really love the story for a number of aspects. First of all, the cancer journey and how you're able to, as you just said a moment ago, you still had so much worth. You're still able to do something. I've had people from American Cancer Society and similar events or charities here on In Touch, and we talk about very similar things about finding your strength and getting back on your feet after something like that. And you are a prime example. Then when it comes to music, I've talked about this before, going to music school myself. You're right. One of the biggest issues with creatives is understanding the business side as well. It's either you got to learn it yourself or find somebody who knows it well and that you can trust and doesn't screw you over in the end. So that's a huge thing. And then just being able to put this trust in this quote unquote hobby, as you called it, now it's come into this big business. It's really awesome to see because you never know what one thing's going to lead to. And I think that's terrific, especially like so many dominoes in your past, all these other things that you've done and created and learned all led to this moment. And as you said, this is still just the start. You have so many things going on with this. So many great things to pick out in that story and just say it's amazing.
It's a combination of event. Like, if anybody had said this is where I was going to be,
you'd laugh, right?
I would totally laugh. I can't sew a stitch. It's so ironic. I can't sew anything, but I get it's a very technical journey with this. And I think I could do a lot more with it.
That's terrific. Now, one thing that you were saying with NoNetz is the environmental impact that the clothing industry as a whole has on the environment. And NoNetz has actually a couple really cool initiatives working with different things. I was checking out your website, and you had an initiative to cut down on plastic, and you also worked with an initiative for tree restoration. So could we talk about both those things, and so we can learn a little bit more and how people can get involved with it as well?
Yeah, as I started to look, especially during the COVID shutdowns, I started to really look at my supply chain. And it's super, fashion, you hear it all the time. It's super hard on the environment. But as you're leveling up in a business, you're just like, all right, let me just get to this number. And then when you actually make it to a point and you can look around, you can be like, oh, wait a minute. That supply chain, I could probably do better. And what kind of certifications do you have? For example, to buy something for $5, right, in a store, a child had to make that, right? You definitely had environmental pollution happen. That is the value of paying more for your products. First, it's higher quality. It's going to last longer. It won't be in a landfill. And hopefully the brand behind it is doing not greenwashing, but really earnestly trying to do the best they can.
Yeah.
So this started when I was like, okay, we could probably make the shell of the swim trunks out of plastic. All right. And now how is the plastic getting in the ocean in the first place? A lot of infrastructure isn't in place in Southeast Asia. All right, so what can I do there? So I connected with Clean Hub to clean the oceans. They hire groups of impoverished women to go along the beaches, give them, not only are they addressing poverty, but they give them a purpose in getting all the plastic before it reaches the ocean. It goes to the recycling center. My mill picks from that recycling center. Nice little karmic circle.
Yeah.
Right? And then in terms of restoration of the forests, I'm planting mangroves because they're the highest carbon reclamation there is. I'm a big hiker. I hike with my friend Maureen Harvey all the time, I love the outdoors. And so that delights me that I could have a NoNetz forest of mangroves.
That's awesome.
I would love that, but that it's doing much more. It also shores up the coastlines, prevents hurricanes from devastating communities and stuff like that. So I'm always trying to think of what else I can do, what bigger problems I can solve. So by partnering with Clean Hub and Handprint, those out of every sale, a portion goes to support those efforts.
That's really terrific. I love hearing about companies that are really looking at sustainability, looking at the future there, and you are really doing a great job with that, spearheading that and looking for all these different initiatives and new ways.
It's so hard. It's so lonely. It's so hard, because
it must be.
Not many people are all about the profit.
Yeah.
Right? Of course. You're a business. You're out to make money. Capitalism. But at what cost? And I think we're feeling a lot of that now. We have to be able to say when is enough. How much is enough?
Yeah.
I don't have to make $1 billion. You know what I mean? I just enough. So what does that look like? And the less we have, the higher quality we have, I think it's kinder to the planet overall.
I agree. Yeah, definitely. Growing up, dreams and expectations of what I necessarily wanted and what the people around me wanted. We were saying, oh, we want these jobs. Oh, of course we want to be millionaires. Who wouldn't want to be a millionaire and this and that? And now that we've all entered the job field and we're all just trying to do stuff, we're like, just having an apartment and, enough for groceries,
right.
That sounds good. And it's like, and we're all like, yeah, that's enough.
Good, right? I mean, no one wants to be like Succession. Well, maybe some people do, of course. But,
yeah.
We just have to, I believe, come to a point where we're grateful and satisfied.
Yes.
To invest more in the people and the planet than we do in our things.
That's great. Grateful and satisfied. That's just something that everybody should be able to live by, and that's a terrific mantra.
I
love
think
that.
it's the recipe for happiness and self-worth, because as you mentioned before with cancer, it's a redefinition of who you are, right? Before, and I know my parents hate when I say this, I think getting cancer was the healthiest thing for me.
Why do you say that?
I know, it's kind of a weird statement. It's bold. Because it rearranged my priorities about what was important. But I was a corporate maniac. You know, when I had to leave, I was the director of tech sales and services down in the city. And, I ran the Northeast. And, having a child at that time and trying to do a big corporate job, something has to give.
Yeah.
Right? And then when I got cancer, I had no voice. So, I learned to cook. I made dinner every night. I made sure everybody was at the table talking. Just different. I am totally different now.
Wow.
Than I used to be. I mean, people, it's not a proud moment. People used to call me Vlad the Impaler, right? Ooh. I was not the nicest person because I was in a hurry and it was all about the money. And now when people meet me, they're like, "You're so much nicer now."
Oh my gosh. Wow. But what a shift. That's amazing. And it
was super healthy. It was super healthy for me to face your own mortality, to not be able to speak, to really listen, to have empathy, and to really observe what's going on around you, and you're more fully present in that moment.
This is not where I thought this interview was going, but
I
love
told
this.
You it was going to be like a wild tangent.
I love this though. This is great. Honestly, I'm all emotional over here listening to all of this. But yeah, and just I love the shift that was made in your life, and just that mantra, grateful and satisfied. I'm just going to have to keep saying that to myself in my head over and over again.
These are super stressful times. Like I was talking to a group of kids and they were like, there's a thing called the hurry sickness now, where everybody's just like tweaking at all times. Calm down. We are good. We just have to be nicer to each other.
Yeah. I think I needed to hear this today because right before all this, I was tweaking out just trying to get some stuff done. So I appreciate all this. This is great. Again, we are listening to In Touch, Townsquare Media, the Hudson Valley's Public Affairs and Issues program. We've been speaking with Cathy Paraggio, founder of NoNetz. This has been a terrific conversation. We talked about the beginning of NoNetz and how it is helping men and boys fashion just to feel more comfortable and feel themselves. And speaking of feeling themselves, Cathy has really opened up about her journey on finding herself, from going from that corporate world to now having her own business with NoNetz, and just that mantra of grateful and satisfied and what can be done for those around the community and the planet. This has just been an inspiring episode. Cathy, again, thank you so much for being here. As we wrap things up, what's the best way for people to learn more and to purchase from NoNetz? How do people get involved with you now?
Right now, I'm an e-commerce company only, so you can go to nonetz.com, NONETZ. So that started out with no net in your swim trunks, zero rash. So nonetz.com, or go to Amazon. I'm on there too. I have an Amazon store, NoNetz.
Terrific. Now, we've gone in so many different directions on this episode, and it's great. It all makes sense. It all makes sense.
I know it's a wild story, yeah.
But do you have any last second comments that you want our In Touch listeners to know?
When you use your money to buy anything, you are supporting the corporation behind that. Make sure you're supporting the corporations that mean the most to you. Perfect. Easy. I love that. And I know myself, I'm going to be checking out NoNetz further, and I want to see what there is. I know for certain, I've had those issues myself with feeling comfortable in my own clothing, feeling comfortable in the skin. You guys never talk about it.
We never do.
You just suck it up.
Oh, yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Just solve it, people. Solve it. I have the answers.
The funny thing is, as you said with the problem solving before, men like to solve other external problems, but when it comes to ourselves, forget it. so that's not something we'll readily do.
So I'm
but
here to take care of you, make
yes.
sure you're totally comfortable, and that you look and feel great.
Thank you, Cathy. We appreciate it. We need it. We need it. So yes, if you're a guy or you know a guy in your life that, is really struggling to feel comfortable in their own skin, check out NoNetz. I know I'm sure going to do so. So check that out. We got all the links and information in the description of this episode. Cathy, thank you so much for coming on In Touch today. Really appreciate it.
It was a pleasure being here. Thanks for having me, Connor.
Of course. This has been this week's edition of In Touch, the award-winning public affairs and issues program that runs across Townsquare Media, the Hudson Valley radio stations. We want to give a big thank you to Cathy Paraggio for speaking with us. For more information on NoNetz and the environmental initiatives they support, visit NoNetz.com. NoNetz is offering a special promotion for In Touch listeners. Promo code WRRV will get you 20% off your order. Of course, all links and information can be found in the description of this episode. Thank you to everybody who's been listening to In Touch, whether you're a new listener or whether you're an old listener. You can find In Touch episodes new and old on your favorite streaming services like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and more. That and listen on demand with your Townsquare radio station mobile app. Of course, you can still find all articles and audio under the In Touch tab on this radio station's app and website. And don't forget, we're also on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram at InTouch_HV. If you like what we do here on In Touch and want to be on the show, hey, let us know. Whether you have a topic you want discussed or you want to be a guest, the best way to contact us is through our office number, 845-471-1500, or email direct to connor.walsh@townsquaremedia.com. I've been your host, Connor Walsh. Until next time, stay curious, keep an open mind, and as always, I'm glad we get to spend some time.